A big announcement this week on crypto and creating a framework finally. I caught some of it. Maybe you could just tell us, from the bottom up, what is the mandate from the president and what is your advice to him on how to make crypto move out of the shadows, offshore, ICOs, craziness to legitimacy? What's the plan here to legitimize and regulate crypto?
Well, the plan was really spelled out by President Trump in his week 1 EO on crypto, and it's all spelled out in there. The principles of the administration on crypto, the president said he wants to support the responsible use and growth of digital assets and blockchains across every sector of the economy. So the principles are all there, and yesterday I was invited up to Capitol Hill to meet with the chairman of the important committees that basically govern crypto. And so we had a press conference there to announce the legislative plan. You can see there's Chairman Tim Scott, who's the chair of the Senate Banking Committee, to my left, and then to my right is French Hill, who's the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee. And then to his right is John Boozman, who's the chair of the Senate Agriculture Committee. And then to the left of Tim Scott is G.T. Thompson, who's the chair of the House Agriculture Committee. He's out of frame right now. But those are the 4 committees that govern crypto. And you may ask, why is the Agriculture Committee involved in crypto? And the reason is because the Ag Committee supervises the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, because commodities all came out of agriculture. So it's interesting. You need 4 committees across the House and Senate to get legislation done on crypto. It's not just House and Senate. It's actually 2 committees in each of the House and Senate. And so this is the first time where we've had 4 chairmen of the 4 key committees all come together and say that they're ready to support crypto legislation. There were a lot of people on X who felt like this wasn't, a mind-blowing announcement. They wanted something that they could trade on right away. That's not what this was. This was basically a statement of commitment from the chairs of the 4 committees that we're going to get legislation done this year, maybe in the next 6 months. I mean, that's really the goal. And we've never had that before. So that is pretty monumental.
I used to work in this because when I first launched Climate Corp back in the day, we actually were selling commodity contracts online. So we set ourselves up as an exempt commodity trading platform. And I remember all this old legislation. There was the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, if I remember, when they deregulated the energy market. But one of the features of the Commodity Futures Modernization Act was that they created this concept of an exempt commodity contract, which was where you're not delivering a physical good. And that's basically what weather derivatives were, and energy derivatives and other kind of indices were created that didn't have a tangible physical supply. And it was still kind of shoveled in the commodities world. That's why the legacy of all this stuff kind of sitting with agriculture. Is that the way this is likely going to move forward? Is it's going to look like a new extension of exempt commodities and kind of treated like that versus being securities?
The question you're describing is called market structure. What are the definitions going to be? Because digital assets can be many things. Yeah. You can have some digital assets are cryptocurrencies. They're actually currencies. Then there's things that are crypto securities. Then there's things that are commodities. Bitcoin actually is regulated as a commodity right now. And then you've got things that aren't securities or commodities. They're like collectibles, like NFTs, things like that. So there's all these different categories. And one of the things that the market needs is just clarity around the definitions so that founders know what the rules of the road are and they can actually just comply with them. So giving them those definitions and describing how a crypto project could start, for example, as a security, and eventually the protocol could become decentralized enough or maybe it becomes a commodity. That whole idea, that's called market structure. And there was a bill in the last Congress by French Hill, who is the chair of the House Financial Services Committee now, that passed the House with 71 Democratic votes. So it was fairly bipartisan, but then it went nowhere in the Senate because, frankly, the Banking Committee at that time was run by Sherrod Brown, who is anti-crypto. So it got stopped in the Senate right away. Now we have Republican control of the Senate, and Tim Scott's the new chair of the Senate Banking Committee, and he's expressed support. So I think now we could get a bill on market structure like FIT 21, again, which was French Hill's bill last Congress. I think we could do a revised and updated version this Congress. And that was one of the things the chairman expressed support for. So I think there's a pretty good chance we could get this done in the next 6 months.
What's the opposition, Sachs? I guess it feels to me like with the market structure question being addressed and answered, you would have also more protection for consumers because now businesses know the rules of the road. They follow them. There's structure that protects consumers, et cetera, et cetera. Why would people be opposed to moving this forward, moving the legislation forward, getting this all behind us?
Well, I think this is an area where there's a really good chance of having bipartisan support. We did in the last Congress, like I mentioned, that the House bill got over 70 Democratic votes. I think in the Senate, we're going to need 7 votes, seven Democrat votes to get to 60, right? Which is the number you need if you don't go through the reconciliation process. And I think there's a good chance this passes with significant Democratic support as well as Republican. It's not going to be unanimous or anything like that because there are still forces that are hostile to crypto in Washington. And
you think it's going to be a discrete bill, or do you? I mean, it seems like you're going to have to get a border security and energy and budget bill passed. So it seems like everything's looking towards reconciliation. In which case, would this be an adjunct, like an add-on?
The question is what you can get through reconciliation. So in order for a bill to go through the reconciliation process where you only need basically 50 votes, it has to have a budgetary impact or predominantly a budgetary impact. I think it's called the Byrd Rule. And that rule was definitely pushed pretty hard in the last administration. Remember that the Biden administration got the Inflation Reduction Act passed through reconciliation and all those subsidies for clean energy or whatever. So they've opened the window pretty wide on what can go through reconciliation, but that's the question. There's one other bill that I think is going to move pretty quickly here too. So I just mentioned the market structure bill. The other area is stablecoins, and Senator Haggerty, he's on the banking committee. He just released a stablecoin bill. There's counterparts in the House. And what the 4 chairmen indicated is actually they're going to take up stablecoins first, and then market structure will follow very quickly. So I think we could see a stablecoin bill pass Congress in the next several months.